Hey, what's going on, everyone? Joey here, and on today's episode, we're going to reveal who's under the mask of the Crocodile. That's right, we're going to go through the clues, the pitch correct audio. We're going to go ahead and compare the audio to the person who we think it is. So before we get started, make sure you subscribe, you turn on notifications, and you give this video a thumbs up. Let's get started. So if you're new to the YouTube channel, hi, how are you? My name is Joey Contino. I'm an executive audio producer in New York City, where it's my job to provide audio for my clients. And when that audio sounds bad, it's my job to make it sound good, and that's where the Masked Singer comes in. As you know, every single week we get these new clues, and in these clues are the celebrities talking, but Fox is smart. They're like, hey, we can't let them talk with the real voices, because if they do, then gonna recognize them in 2 seconds. So they go ahead, they speed up their voices and pitch it up. That way you have no idea who it is. Now they also do that when they're talking to the judges. That way when you're in the audience or the judges, they actually can't hear the real voice. So doing what I do, I figured we could slow down this audio and pitch correct it. That way we can hear the real celebrity voice. Now that plus the clues, we can go ahead and determine who's under the mask. And we've been doing this every single week from week 1 of season 1 of The Masked Singer. And we've gotten them all right with the exception of one, which was the Eagle, Dr. Drew. I know, not cool. So right now we're gonna go through all the clues. First, let's go ahead and list out all the clues that we have for the Crocodile so far, starting off with the preview, the sneak preview. The only clue we really had was him talking about getting a special set of keys, which reversed his game forever. After that, we have our clues for episode 1. If you're like me, you have them all typed up. I have, like, seriously, PowerPoints. Yeah, that's 4 pages of clues and answering those clues on the Crocodile. So starting off, this was from episode 2, because episode 1 was group A, this was group B. So episode 2. He first spoke of his costume, being a natural selection for him because he's at his happiest in water. He grew up in Hollywood, surrounded by heartache and instability. He had to have thick skin. Visual clues included an Italian flag, a fish in a pineapple, which just sounds disgusting, a rainbow, a hotel in a Vegas-style kind of look, and a yellow slide. He mentioned that crocodiles get a bad rap because they're cold-blooded, but he said that he was a sensitive creature who wanted to be loved. After that, we saw him for episode 4. It started off with a house with the number 5 on the door, which could mean that it's either a house number or maybe how many people live there. We saw an American flag, a pirate flag, and a pond with lily pads in the yard. Then we see inside the house, we saw hairspray, a mirror ball, like one of those disco kind of balls, and then a photo that says the Crocodile Family Reunion 2014. Then he's shown in the backyard surrounded by an orange tree where he said he would stand and perform to each weed and rose petal. He went on to say, my own father didn't believe in my talent. And then we could see a mustache crocodile sitting inside the house on the couch watching 30 Croc play off a 30 Rock. He said that he later gave his first paycheck of $100 to his father, who cried actual crocodile tears, who quote-unquote then believed in him. He said a few years later, Shazam! My field of dreams became a field of reality. And the only other clue we had was his childhood clue, which was, for that episode they brought out something, and that was a piñata. And when you broke the piñata, dolphins came out. So those are all the clues that they had given us on the Crocodile. I went ahead and I typed up all my answers on who I think it is. Before I go ahead and tell you who I think it is, let's go through the audio. Here's the audio that they gave us.
I've had to have tough skin my whole life to survive because I'm really sensitive on the inside.
Now, we slowed it down, we pitch corrected it. I took this audio from episode 2, so here is what we got.
I've had to have tough skin my whole life to survive because I'm really sensitive on the inside. And being anonymous gives me the opportunity to share my true self to the world.
Now that voice may sound familiar to you. Who do you think it is? Let me know in the comment section. I'm going to tell you in 3, 2, 1. I think it's Nick Carter. I really, truly do know. I know a lot of you guys are going to argue about it and say, it can't be Nick Carter. But let's go through everything. First, let's go ahead and we'll compare his speaking voice to our pitch correct audio. So we'll do pitch correct audio to the speaking voice. Here you go.
I've had to have tough skin my whole life to survive because I'm really sensitive on the inside.
I was a really strange boy, you know, like I wasn't singing all the current stuff.
So that sounds like Nick Carter, right? But let's compare the singing voice. Now, just a quick little thing here and there. Last time we did this, YouTube went ahead and hit with a copyright and kind of made me mute the whole thing. So if it disappears and it's just blank, that's why. I apologize in advance. But here we're going to compare the Crocodile singing to Nick singing. Here you go.
If it says on your lips, I'm on a ride, pushing down the pedal with my bumped Reeboks.
So yeah, that sounds like Nick. I know episode 2 and 4, which was the episodes he was on, he kind of had two different voices. I think even Nicole mentioned that once. In episode 4, he had more of a raspy voice because he's kind of singing a little higher. So that's why I picked that audio to kind of compare it with. In episode 2, he had more fuller, like his Backstreet Boy voice. But I mean, to me, that looks like to be him. There is, and I'm going to answer all of the clues we have. There is a photo floating around showing the Crocodile's dance move where he put his arm out, and then Nick doing the same thing because everyone says that's a signature of his. So let's go ahead and answer those clues, starting off with the special set of clues in the pre-tease or pre-season package. I think that that is referring to the Florida Keys. We do know that's where he proposed to his wife, Lauren, and we do know that changed his life forever. So that was very, very big right there. Let's go into episode 2, where he talked about the costume being special for him because he's most happiest in the water. And I feel like there's two different answers to this. One, we do know that Nick has started some kind of Oceans campaign. What is it called? I think it's actually just called Nick Carter's Oceans Campaign, which supports different kind of various ocean causes. We also do know that he's really big into speedboat racing. Keep in mind that, you know, even though he grew up, he was born, I forget, somewhere in New York, but he moved from either New York or New Jersey. I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head. But he did move down, when he was very young, to Florida, where his parents kind of bought a nursing home, which was in a town located right on the water. So he was near water a lot growing up. And of course, he went to Orlando, they formed the Backstreet Boys, and then boom, Hollywood. Which actually, I think actually answers our next question. He grew up in Hollywood surrounded by heartache and instability. So I don't actually believe he lived in Hollywood, but because he was famous so young, he had to deal with all the Hollywood drama. I mean, you know how many stories they had about him growing up? It was quite insane. A lot of them, unfortunately, wound up being true, a lot of his family issues and things like that. But I do know he grew up with a lot of drama, which is where that headache comes in. I do know with the headache also, with his family, I do know they were very unhappy, his mother and father, and we'll get into that once we talk about him winning $100. But anyway, let's continue on. The visual clues included an Italian flag, a fish and a pineapple, rainbow, a hotel in a Vegas style look, and a yellow slide. We do know that in the yellow slide is a reference to when Nick Carter was in Edward Scissorhands. He was actually an extra who wound up running against a car and then sliding on a yellow slide. Here's a clip. Yeah, I never knew that, so thank you to my friends on Reddit who went ahead and pointed that out to me. Next was the Italian flag. He's not Italian. I do know that recently he found it was at 9% Italian, but I think there's something more to it. We do know that there is, I feel like it was pointing us to a comic from 1972, which was titled Nick Carter. I don't know. I know that's kind of a stretch, but that's what I kind of think there. The Vegas clues, we do know that the Backstreet Boys had a residency there, and I do believe that he still lives there today. I know he was on an episode of Tanked, where he lived right outside Vegas and actually built a tank inside his house, a fish tank, which could actually answer the other question about the fish and a pineapple. I believe that is referring to fish tanks. After that, he mentioned that crocodiles get a bad rep and that they're kind of cold-blooded. But he's a sensitive creature who always wanted to be loved. I do know that he went through a lot of drama and there's a lot of allegations against him. So we do know that overall he is just a loving guy. We do know, unfortunately, with his brother Aaron and all that kind of drama with the family, a lot of things that happen, a lot of allegations. So ultimately, he is a loving and caring person. After that, we have episode 4. It starts off with a 5 on the door. I believe that represents the 5 Carter kids. We saw the American flag. Well, I mean, they always say that Backstreet Boys is a full American boy band. We saw a pirate flag, and we do know that he is a Buccaneers fan, including this giant tattoo right here of a pirate ship. So I actually didn't know how big of a fan he was, but I mean, it makes sense. If he grew up in Orlando, or at least over there by Tampa area, because that's where the retirement home was, it makes sense if he liked the Buccaneers football team. When it came to the pond, I mean, it's Orlando/Florida. There are ponds, streams, everything everywhere. Think about Orlando swampland, pretty much. At least it used to be, and then Disney kind of did all that instead of Universal. But anyway, next we see inside the house, we see hairspray and a mirrored ball. We do know that he was on Dancing with the Stars, which, keep in mind, and I've said this before, the same executive producers for Dancing with the Stars are the same one for this show and The Masked Dancer. So we do know that we have that kind of connection there. We do get some celebrities from that show come over. So far for this season, we haven't seen any, so it would make sense that we'd finally see one now. The mirror ball kind of thing, I also want to point out, could mean a couple other clues. I know a lot of you guys are saying, well, he did perform in nightclubs and things like that, but I think it really does represent Dancing with the Stars. After that, we saw the hairspray, and I think that the hairspray clue refers to his hair kind of being like really fluffed back, and he uses hairspray for that. The next clue is kind of like a two-parter kind of clue. The one about his father not believing in him, and that he had given him his first paycheck of $100 to his father, who cried actual crocodile tears. Now, this is taken from his book, Facing the Music, okay? I don't want to read it quote for quote, but he talked about how he was in a competition where he sang for 20 people and won. He won $100, and he had taken it home to his father. His father, who was actually sitting on the couch watching TV, so that's kind of how it matches there, went ahead and mumbled something to him, and then went ahead and said thank you. Now, Nick later on said that he probably thought his father was very uncomfortable because he thought as a child that if he gave money to his parents, it might make them happier. I know it's kind of really sad. It kind of goes with the torment of what he had to deal with as a child. 5 kids, and they're running, moving from place to place, and running that trailer park. I know it really wasn't a happy kind of childhood for him. So he thought that maybe that might actually help him out. And I think that's what he was referring to when his father was, quote unquote, crying tears of joy. So I feel like that does tie together. After that, he talked about how he was in the backyard surrounded by an orange tree, dead roses, and he would perform for the weeds and rose petals. Well, there was an interview that he actually mentioned where he said when he was young, he was told from his mother that he used to sing on an old tree stump in their backyard and sing to the grass and pretend that it was a big arena. Really cute story, really cute. After that, not too many clues left. He talked about Shazam a few years later, My Dreams Came True, which we do know, because I believe that contest, I think, was in 1990. I could be wrong. And of course, 3 years later, in 1993, the Backstreet Boys were together in Orlando, kicking things off, getting ready for my days of listening to their music, their CDs, bringing them around with me, my Walkman. Yeah, boy, do I feel old thinking about how I used to listen to Backstreet Boys. Anyway, the last clue we had was a childhood clue, which was the piñata, and it was in the shape of a crocodile. When you broke it open, dolphins came out. Well, we do know that his wife is part Mexican, and we do know that he, of course, has a lot of causes that he goes for in the ocean, including one for dolphins. So those are all the clues and the pitch correct audio and everything pretty much we have about the crocodile. I want to know, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments section. Let me know who you want me to reveal next also. Thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe. We're trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Make sure you subscribe, you turn on notifications, and you give this video a thumbs up. I'm Joey, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
This is hard.